thank you so much for being here with me, future Dr. Chelsea Yarborough. Yes,
Absolutely.
I am excited for you to be able to share with the world your successes. The reason why I am doing this, and I've had a couple of clients do this, is because it's one thing to hear me say, you can do it, I can help you, blah, blah, blah. But it's another thing to have a flesh and blood, prosperous, successful doctoral student share her own story. So thank you so much. I just have a couple of questions. Can you begin by telling us who you are, what type of doctorate you're getting, and in what discipline?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you for calling me a successful doctoral student. I will
Because
reference that right now. Yes, you were right.
you
That's what
are.
we're doing. That's what we're doing. Yes.
Yes.
So my name is Chelsea Brooke Yarborough, and I am receiving my doctorate in homiletics and liturgics from Vanderbilt.
Nice. I'm not going to ask you to tell your project because, again, nope, we're going to protect that work because it's really, really important.
Remind me of that all the time. You're right.
Yes. And I enjoy the conversations that we've had about your work. So I just can't wait for it to get published so that I can have it on my shelf at the end. Yes. So Chelsea, tell us your why. Why did you want to get a doctorate in that particular field? Who are you trying to help? What's your so what?
So I think that what I love about my why is that I feel like it has clarified over time. Whereas I think that some people came with a very strong why and, they've kept that. I feel like I came in like, as I tend to do into new seasons, where in my master's program, I encountered a question in liturgics that I didn't have an answer to. And I was like, where is the answer to this? Like, what is going on? And so in consultation with some of my mentors at Wake Forest, they were like, maybe you should write it. And I was like, oh no, like,
Yes.
we're done. But I realized that my no was actually about self-doubt and not about not feeling called. And so after some prayer or whatever, prayer and meditation, I kind of just felt like the next most faithful step was to apply. And I was like, whether I get in or not, that'll give me some discernment, but was to apply. And so I think my why at that time was, I need to figure out this question. Well, my question has changed, which is fine. And my why now is that for me, the ways in which preaching and worship are talked about have always rubbed me kind of strange. I've been in church my whole life. And I want to expand the genre. I want to invite people to consider that their everydayness is the holy, is where the sacred lies, that they proclaim in spaces where they don't have to be institutionally affirmed or anywhere, but that their work and their words are still sacred and can be the mouthpiece of the divine. And so that's my why. My why is for all the people who feel called to preach, but not to pulpits.
Yes. That's going to set a lot of people free.
Yeah, look, I have told several of my friends this, but I said at some point I realized my dissertation was actually a healing love letter to myself, where I realized that like you didn't start preaching when you got licensed. You've been doing that. That was when the church affirmed this particular pulpit practice. And so, yeah, it's to myself. And I think that when we are honest about the ways in which we need to be free and healed, we give space for others to do the same.
And I appreciate you talking about the different ways that we can envision and imagine what's sacred. It is really relative, and we get so caught up in the institutionalization of where you need to preach, what you need to preach about, which texts are sacred. And in fact, there's a lot of sacred texts that aren't written.
Yes.
Right? There are the experiences. There's your grandmother Helen that you talked about, right? Those are sacred texts. Those are scripture to most people. Now I know some people might be like, oh no, she's being blasphemous, but it is true.
No, it is.
So true.
Yeah. I mean, you're the Bible scholar, so you can, if you say it, I believe it, right?
Well, listen, scholarship, as you know, is always building on each other, but I don't believe in the rigidity of what someone pretty much who didn't look like us, who created the canon, right? That boxed in. Right. So anyway, the sacred can mean many different things. It can be professed in so many different ways and in environments. So the world needs that work. So y'all get ready. I'm serious. Another thing that you mentioned was about the whole self-doubt. That is really huge. And a lot of the doctoral students and even faculty that I talk to have the doubt, that whole imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough, I try to remind the doctoral students, you know, you wouldn't have gotten into a program if you didn't have what it takes, right? It's not like the institutions just take whoever. It is a highly competitive
Mhm.
spot, right? And then faculty, we get to choose with whom we want to work because our names go off on your projects, our names go on your CVs, right? There's a lot
Right.
that we invest. So that doing whatever self-reflection or whatever you need to do to try to get over that doubt is really important. And I'm so glad that you got over it and applied because here you are,
Yeah.
not too far from being Dr.
Not
Kelly
too far.
Yarborough.
We getting there. We're pushing. Yes, for sure.
Yes, you are.
Mhm.
And can you say a little bit about what transformation has happened in your doctoral program and your life since you made the decision to invest in yourself, to get the help that you need?
Yeah, definitely. I think that that self-doubt piece was a big one. There are two particular things I want to highlight. I think that at one point I was trying to like get rid of the doubt, where I realized that in a conversation that we had, that like if it keeps coming up, address it.
Yeah.
Because if I just try to rid myself of it and just be like, no, I'm not an then I kind of stay in the spiral and I still give it a lot of attention. And
Mhm.
so it was really in me addressing, do I doubt myself, or am I creating this image of what a scholar is supposed to look like, what they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to flow? And yeah, again, in our conversations, I realized that I am a scholar because I say I am. Like
That's
I
right.
am a scholar because I say I am, and my work is scholarship because I say it is. And there might be places and institutions and different groups that might say no to the work I do, but I won't be the one that says no to me. And
Yes.
so that for me was major in our conversations. And then the second, and this, I think this has been like life monumental and also doctoral monumental, is time blocking. And it sounds so simple. But I remember we sat down and went through my schedule, and there were very like key things that I wasn't adding in. Like, when are you gonna eat? Like, you said one time, when are you gonna eat? And I was like, I don't know. Sometime during this block, and you were like, no, like when are you going to consume the food and create it?
Exactly.
And I realized that I was blocking all my time, that I was actually not in my own schedule. It was
Right.
always my production. There was no attendance to my person or breath or the
Yeah.
things that make me actually who I am to do this work. I was becoming the work. And I was just like, no. And so that for me has been a monumental shift. And I time block everything now, even free flex time. I'm just like, you have 2 hours of flex time. So then I know, like, oh, okay, all right, we got that. And normally, it becomes something else, but at least I know what's happening. So it feels, the transformation for me was, transformation is we actually changing form, as I changed from being like a product of my schedule to being in control of it. And like making
Yes.
sure that it was working for me instead of like just me being kind of like tossed around and back and forth in it.
That is a word. That is a word because a lot, I remember that conversation and I was like, okay, yeah, you got all of this time blocked off for work and then your doctoral work, but when are you gonna eat? When are you gonna spend time with your friends? When are
Yes,
you gonna work out? When are you going, well, you're like, I don't have time for, well, yeah, you do.
you
Let's
do.
work, let's do a daily schedule audit and
Right.
figure this out. Then we'll create the plan, right? Because you come first.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because you're not going to be in this program forever. But if
No.
these are the habits that you had to learn, because even when you become a professor, if that's your next step, those are the same practices that you need
Mhm.
to take with you. Because
Yeah.
if not, listen, it's not, there's so many students and scholars out there taking high blood pressure medicine, their health is deteriorating all because they're not making time for themselves. Oh, I can eat on the way to work, driving,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'll get my walk when I walk the dog. You mean to the corner and back? Right, no.
Like super fast. Yeah, I think that in that same vein, I was going from extremes. So on one extreme, I would work myself so hard that I wasn't breathing. And on the other extreme, I'm like, I'm exhausted, so I can't work at all. So I'm worth, put whatever it is. So then I was taking weeks and weeks off of my project when I realized actually the self-love I want to give myself is I want to do this work. I signed up for it. I've invested a lot of time in it. So like, I want to do this work. I want to see what emerges from my brain onto the page. And I also want to be well. And so finding the balance of excellent and well was where like, I could be like, no, I am loving myself in this program. I'm not putting my life on pause. I am being a scholar, which is an identity I hold, not the identity I hold. Mm-hmm. So that was really helpful. When I look at my schedule, I'm always like, does the rhythm feel right? Balance is a funky word because, you know, different seasons have different balances. But does the rhythm feel right? Like, do I feel like I'm moving in a way that feels good to my body? Okay, cool, we're good.
Right, and which is why, and I think I've told you this before, I don't even believe in a balance. I believe in prioritization. And that changes in different seasons, just like you said. And for those of you that didn't see another video of a New Testament scholar, one of my dear friends, who's actually her birthday is today, but Jennifer Kalin. I know, right? She said, you know, we have a lot of balls in the air, just don't drop the glass ones.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I was like, I'm carrying that with me and I'm telling everybody about it because it's so, so important. But I just want to congratulate you again for just reclaiming your time, reclaiming your life, and knowing that you didn't have to put your life on pause, or I'll call it on hold, just to do a doctorate.
Yes, no, definitely.
A lot can happen in the next minute, right? And you don't want to have those woulda, coulda, shoulda moments, friendships that you lost, relationships that have lost the spark, all because you put them second, and especially yourself.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think that if this season that we're in currently has not taught us anything, is that things will happen that you can't, you can't dictate, and it's hard to comprehend. And so again, this idea that like, what every moment holds is a falsity of control. And so what you can do is honor the today, learn from the wisdom of, where you come from, but also just like, not that you can't plan or whatever, but that you're agile in that planning and that you can have gratitude and breathe. The word that's come to me is breath, and breathe along the way in a way that your body actually feels okay.
Yes, and then it makes space for you to continue to motivate. You're motivating yourself and loving the work that you do instead of the two extremes that you talked about. Mm-hmm. You've been dropping a lot of golden nuggets for all of us. So my last question, you have already answered like 3 times over, but given all the lessons that you've learned so far, what is the number one tip or piece of advice that you would give to your fellow doctoral students?
So many, but I think the biggest one is that I would say, because I see it a lot and I have been gifted to be mentored well, yourself being one of them, thank you. And through my Vanderbilt, like I've been mentored well. And so I'm grateful for folks that have spoken to me about this. But I would say, like, don't miss out on community running after networks. And kind of creating a mental competition for yourself between your colleagues and yourself. And that's not to say that, there's not accountability, and that's not to say, but I do think there's a huge kind of obsession with scarcity in the academy, and a type of urgency that breeds anxiety. And I think that, not that it's wrong to reach out to someone that you're intrigued by their work or you are interested in some type of mentorship relationship. But I think when that's the only energy that you're putting towards relationships in this space, one, people know and they can feel it, but also you're left out, you're out here with a network, but no friends. And while I'm grateful for the network that I have and that's continually growing, my friends have sustained me through this season. My friends are who I write with, who remind me, hey, let's get these chapters done. You are worth finishing. Your work is worth finishing. And they're the people I FaceTime when I'm like, y'all, these edits though. And so I'm grateful for the networks, but it's the friends, the times where I paused at a conference to just have a long lunch where, maybe I missed a super session, but like I got a super person in my space. And so I just want to invite people to consider that, like, rushing through every moment and everything being like super networking might not be the best thing for your flesh and blood in the long run, because at the end of the day, like, a community is going to hold you more than just a loose network of people that can maybe rattle off your CV but don't know your person.
Ooh. I hope y'all paying attention because that is a word. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I mean, I had to be checked. Yeah. And people, I'm grateful for my friends who hold me accountable. Where I'm like, oh, I should reach out to them. And one of my friends is always like, watch that should. And I'm like, you're right. Why should? What is it? And I'm just like, okay. Now, sometimes the answer is I come up with the actual real reason. But if it's just this should pull, because if I don't, something's going to happen to my program or to me, like, no, I refuse to live out of that scarcity.
Right.
And so.
And on the other side of that, when you don't, you know, my therapist tells me all the time, you know, we are human beings, not simply human doings, right?
Yes,
That's how
I
we
love that.
function.
Yeah.
But we should sit down, be in the moment, as you said, with our friends, those who hold us accountable, right? And even as a scholar, for me, my non-academic books hold me down too, right? Because
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
it can't always be
Woo.
about the scholarship.
I had to
But
relearn how to read a novel though. I was like, why are you reading this so fast? I was like, breathe.
yes, it's
Yes.
engaging. But
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to know that I see you as one of those people. And I'm so grateful to know you beyond a mentoring mentee kind of relationship too, because you are about to be one of my colleagues. You
Whew.
know, listen, the light, I know how close you are. So I just want you to stay encouraged, and thank you for encouraging all of us.
No, thank you for having
Rooting
me.
for you. Yeah, we are rooting for you. And I just want to tell the world, all of you who are watching, future Dr. Chelsea Yarborough, remember her name. And I want you to know that you can have her success too. It is not just for the few, but it's for those who take the steps to get it. Three things that Chelsea did was she believed in herself. She believed the importance of self-investment. She was coachable. And she said, I'm ready to make a move so I can have results. And that is exactly what she did. And that is why she is about to be minted sooner rather than later. So all of you who are ready to have that type of success, I invite you to book a call. It's free. The link is in the description. Let's just talk to see what you're dealing with, what you may be struggling with, or if you just want to learn how to go faster. And I'll tell you whether or not we can work together, if I can help you, and my recommendation for best next steps. So I'm so excited about this addition to the client success interviews. Thank you so much, Chelsea. I really,
Yeah, my pleasure.
and you enjoy the rest of your day. Everyone, be safe and take care.